What happened in school that still pisses you off when you think about it today? My English teacher senior year underlining a word I used in a paper and wrote in red, "These are not your words." It's called a thesaurus, and I was taught to use it instead of writing the same word repeatedly. I got a 0 on a final exam for cheating. The class in question, Art 1, we were drawing hands, and a kid near me talked. Butthole teacher thought it was me and gave me a 0 for cheating. How the actual frick do you cheat at drawing? Well, first you have a super insecure teacher, then you be better at drawing than the teacher thinks someone your age should be. I had to pee, then I asked to go to the restroom. The substitute, full-time teacher for another class, said, "You don't have to pee, just sit down." After a bit more pleading and begging, I just peed my pants. I was 8 and totally mortified. What made it worse is that the teacher told my parents that I should have spoken up earlier and accidents happen. I still think I should have peed on her desk. Something like this happened when I was in high school. The kid just pulled a garbage can to the corner and pee in it. We had this multicultural fair at my elementary school and the faculty wanted a Japanese kid to do origami at the Japanese station. I was the only kid that knew origami. I was, and still am, Filipino. So, they had me pretend to be Japanese and do the paper cranes and frogs and crap. It was just ridiculous. If they did that now, crap would hit the fan. A couple weeks into my freshman year, I transferred into a more advanced science class. On my first day in the new class there is a quiz. I asked the teacher if I was exempt from the quiz. Since it was my first day, she said no. I did well, especially for not having been taught any of the material. Here's what bugged me. The final question on the test was, what country is ticket from? Of course I got it wrong. The sentence doesn't even make sense. She wouldn't give me any clarification during the test, so once it was graded I asked what in the world she meant. Turns out ticket is her pet bird. Ticket. For one, capitalize the name of your pet. Also, that's not an appropriate test question. I told the teacher I had no idea that was her bird. She said, "Well, now that you know I'm talking about my bird, I'll give you another chance. What country is my bird from?" I was stunned that she thought I was now equipped to answer this question. I wasn't in class to hear her reveal where her bird was from. I guessed something like Chile. She says wrong. It's Africa. Africa? That's not a country. I was so mad. She also arrogantly proclaimed every so often for the first few weeks if anyone spotted her making an error, they get an instant A for the year. I can't count how many times I busted her in class, but she never stuck to her word. Last of all, some random girls I didn't even know told the teacher I taught the bird swear words, and I got in trouble for that. I never said a word, much less swear words, to her bird. Was once accused of cheating collusion on a homework assignment as 5 of us all have the same incorrect answer. The other 4 were guilty but I was not. Stayed behind to prove that my answer was correct and that the teacher was wrong. He gave it a cursory glance and said, "Well, that still doesn't prove you didn't cheat." The worst thing is when an authority figure tries to save face for an accusation. Like, for example, "You cheated on your test with John, but I'm on the other side of the room." That, doesn't prove anything. In 6th grade we had to write an essay at the beginning of the school year if we wanted to be on flag duty. There were 3 6th graders who were in charge of going outside and running the flag up the pole every morning and taking it down at the end of the school day. I had just come to the school the year before, and it was a very tight-knit small school, and I was a sci-fi nerd who was decidedly not cool. I knew it then too, and overcompensated by trying way too hard, which is the least cool thing you can do. I wrote an essay about how my father was in Vietnam and the flag reminded him of home. How my grandfathers had gone to Germany in the Pacific in World War II and what the flag meant. About my ancestors who fought under that flag and a different flag in the Civil War. And how 2 of my great-great-great-great-great-grandfathers had fought in the revolution to establish that flag. I wrote about how from 13 stars to 50, through challenges within and without, my family had served their country. Regardless, I wasn't selected. You win some, you lose some. So at the end of the year, we are graduating from 6th grade and moving to junior high. This kid, Andy, who is one of the ones who was on the flag crew and was one of the cool kids, walks up to me just before the presentation and says, Hey, you're going to get a certificate for being on the flag crew. We were supposed to tell you the second week of school, but we didn't. As a kid who wanted to be a writer, I had spent the whole year thinking my persuasive essay wasn't good enough, but it was just this sucker not wanting me to be there when he and his friend went out and did the flag. Frick you, Andy. Last year of primary school, I was being bullied on a daily basis. One kid stabbed me between the shoulder blades with a compass. Teacher, seeing the blood through the back of my shirt, declared that I'd done it myself to my mother. In 8th grade, my math teacher told me I hadn't turned in an assignment. A small enough thing, no? Well, I had done said assignment, but decided to do it again so that I could get the grade for it since he apparently didn't have it, and I turn it into the silly paper tray where we have to turn in our assignments. He refused to take them directly. Days pass, and he pulls me aside again. Where's the assignment, he asks me. I turned it in, I say. I don't have it, you need to turn it in. At this point I'm pretty irritated, but since he's stubborn and tells me to turn it in again, I do it yet another time and turn it in again. Weeks pass. This literally happened 6 more times. He still doesn't have the assignment, and has been getting more and more angry at me every time he brings it up. I tell him that I turned it in, and he should check his papers. He simply tells me I haven't turned it in and to stop lying to him. The entire grade is having a party to celebrate the upcoming graduation from 8th grade. I can't go since I'm missing the one assignment. Instead, I have to do the assignment yet again. I do it. He finally takes it with his own dang hands and not with a paper tray. Credit is given. A few weeks later, he's cleaning out his papers. All of them are haphazardly tossed into milk crates. He says that we can come and grab all of our papers that we've had graded, since they and other things are in there. I go to look in the milk crates, and there, Reddit, I found 9 copies of that assignment total, ungraded, sitting in random papers that were literally 2 feet behind him at any given time. I got shouted at for weeks over a single assignment that he never bothered to look at, and wouldn't look for when I told him I turned it in. When I showed him the 9 copies he had in his own possession, he just looked at me, and said, okay. This one crazy ass teacher punished someone and treated him like a delinquent for the whole school year because this kid yawned at him. My Spanish teacher in high school would get upset with anyone that yawned in class. She thought it was extremely disrespectful and rude. Couple of kids got detention over it. She treated yawning as if you were projectile pooping onto her desk. My stepfather was severely physically abusive and I got called to the guidance counselor's office often to explain the bruises. I would tell her what had happened. She'd call my mother. My mother would arrive, tell everyone I was a liar and that I bruised myself for attention, and the GC always bought it and sent me home. Eventually I just stopped telling her anything other than I was clumsy because the beatings were always worse when the school called my parents. We were all taking a class trip to the school library. Librarian said I couldn't drink my water in the library. No problem, I told her. I tightened the lid and put it in my bag. Out of sight. Nope. She grabbed my bag, attached to me, ripped it open and grabbed my water bottle and slam dunked it in the trash can, telling me. I said no like I was a dog. All 15 of us just stared at her, and I wasted my $1 to have my water trashed. I got detention for talking after someone talked to me. I didn't even reply and he didn't get punished. We don't even have similar voices. During a math test in 7th grade, 2 girls behind me kept whispering and throwing bits of paper at me trying to get me to move so they could copy me answers. They were getting on my nerves and when I couldn't stand it anymore I turned around to tell them to leave me alone. Unfortunately, I did this at the exact moment that the teacher stood up to check on the class. What pisses me off today is not that I failed the test and got sent to guidance, but that the 2 girls behind were the first ones to yell oh panda is in trouble, snickering at me as I took my walk of shame out of the classroom and telling everyone in the school that I was caught cheating. That was the day I learned the world is unfair. That would have been chips down time for me. No peace for goddamn anyone. Parents, teachers, admin, until I was made whole again. I was a straight A student at that point and would have flown off the handle at that kind of accusation. In my last year of junior school, I arrived to find everyone gossiping about 2 friends and I being in trouble for some reason. We'd been accused of bullying this kid. We had to apologize to him. We got called to the headmaster who blew his top. and our form teacher told us that she hoped we'd get bullied when we went to secondary school, most of which would have fine, but when we went to apologize I didn't so much as even recognize him, let alone know him or bully him. He turned out to be a good guy, so at least I made a friend for the final 3 months of school. Even to this day I can't guess how this story originated. I once had to apologize to someone who was bullying me, because he said that I was bullying him. Was talking to the guidance counselor about how it was ridiculous to me that a single missed assignment would drop my grade by 20-30 points, regardless of its importance. She said just because something is wrong doesn't mean you should try to change it. Why the frick would a guidance counselor give that type of advice to a freshman in high school? I found that a lot of guidance counselors were just bitter people who never got to be teachers. Both my parents are teachers and they hate their respective guidance departments. I took a computer programming class in high school and we had network folders to store our work. One kid found my password on a slip of paper, given passwords that we couldn't change, and was stealing my assignments and changing the name. I had been helping him through the class, but didn't think anything of it. Well, in programming it's very obvious if you steal someone's code, since the odds of you having the same variable names and methods to solve problems would be rare. I got called into a meeting with a teacher and kid and she just started laying into us. She accused me of cheating, telling me she was going to fail me and report me for academic dishonesty, get me kicked out, and told me that I'd never make it in life and not doing anything blah blah blah. I was completely blindsided. I had no idea he was stealing my stuff and turning it in. I tried explaining that I had no idea what she was talking about. She kept telling me I was a liar and stupid and wouldn't be successful, and just kept going on and finally said, "Never use me as a reference for anything. I'm now a very successful chemist in a very good company and still bitter that this teacher accused me of being a cheater and that I would never amount to anything because of it." Given passwords that we couldn't change. Sounds like the network administrator should have a fire lit under his ass. I was in the school finals of some general knowledge quiz competition. The question I was asked was, what is the collective noun for a group of whales? I answered confidently, a pod. The illiterate bloody teacher had a skull written on her answer card, refused to listen when I assured her it was indeed a pod. Her ignorance cost me the grand title and I was practically in tears in front of the whole school. Add the injustice of it. Everyone then labeled me as a bad loser. Will never forget it. Still seethe on it from time to time. It happened in 1985. 9th grade. Was loading onto the bus in summer school. A kid sat in a seat that a girl wanted. I told him not to worry about her. She proceeded to slap the crap out of me. As she was rearing back to slap me again, I pushed her away. At that exact time the driver gets on and sees me pushing her. We both go kicked out of summer school. I was only going so that I could graduate as a junior. She fricked up my whole plan for high school. You've been spotted by the prettiest cat in the Western Hemisphere. Comment pet 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 to pet the kitty. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.